All right, we got 20 seconds. Okay, microphones are going on.
And welcome back to Talk Recovery, Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. What's going on, land of Facebook Live? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining in, and for those of you that will watch later, we also appreciate it. It's important. These personal stories are huge. Brooklyn's here with us today. She was our personal story last week, and Niko sat in with us. And now he's here to share his personal story. So welcome to the show.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous, but
That's okay. It's just your story.
yeah.
Nothing's gonna surprise you today.
I'm just talking about myself anyways.
Right.
About my past experience.
It's what we love to do most of all, anyways,
Of
right?
course.
So,
Self-indulge.
so let's just say appreciate you coming in, and fighting the nervousness, fighting the anxious feelings, and but I always like to remind ourselves that, the message and the story and the experience is worth so much. And I think I said that to you last week, Brooklyn. Like, you just never know who's going to hear the story and relate. And you were saying too, just listening to our first guest interview, right? Like, there's a relatability there.
Yeah, part of my story is like when I came to realize that I feel like in my own personal experience that I was born an addict. I didn't start using drugs until I was 23 years old, and my addiction progressed. But like when I'm a part of the 12-step fellowship, and when I was working through the steps, I came to realize that a lot of my life I lived with living addictive working addictive behaviors.
Yeah.
And drugs just heightened it for me.
Okay.
And yeah, and
well, and I know what you mean. Like, there's that language of a lot of people when they start, trying to make sense of all the past and the whys, and we see those behaviors that, maybe we're a little irrational, a little obsessive, compulsive, crazy, adrenaline seeking, whatever it is.
yeah.
And, sort of help us understand, well, it makes sense. It makes sense why I took to the using so much. So at that point, 23 years old, like was it an outside influence? Did you know what you were doing? What was the experience like for you first time?
Like at first, it was more of just trying to fit in. I struggled a lot with trying to find like who I actually was. I always try to a lot of outside influences influenced on who I really was, and I always felt lost, and I always felt like I was trying to be someone that everybody else wanted me to be. I never felt true to myself. And throughout my life, and as addiction progressed, I started to deplete my courage, and my family relationships and everything just kind of blew out of proportion, and then I broke down literally everything, and I was begging and pleading for a way out and a better life, and I was trying to do everything possible to figure it out, but I tried everything possible, yeah, and
Like what?
I tried opiate replacement therapy, and the thing is with opiate replacement therapy is I still felt chained to my addiction, it was still controlling me, and I didn't. Eventually, I still wanted. I had no real friends. I had no connection. I still didn't have a reason to live. I ended up later on. After doing it for so many months, I decided that it wasn't for me. I just went back to using because I just wanted to numb everything because I still felt the same, but yet I might as well just get high.
So you were using heroin?
Yeah, I'm an opiate user.
Okay, so that's the thing I think only addicts understand is it's not it's not just like so easy to say, oh, I know this is ruining, I know the heroin's ruining my life. I just need to get off this. And if we take a pill that, you know, takes away some of the cravings for that, like, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
But there's like a ritual and routine and behaviors and a whole lifestyle that comes with it. And just as you described, like,
I still just felt like I wasn't living. Like I had, like, nothing changed.
right.
It was like a band-aid for a bullet wound, and I just went back to using, and I kept praying and praying for death to come, and then eventually it happened. I had OD'd, and I actually was dead for 8 to 10 minutes.
Like on purpose?
I don't really remember. I was just using, but I knew that I just had no way. I was on the streets. I was using alone, and by the grace of God, I woke up in the hospital, and I had no idea how I got there. And I woke up alone. But the one thing that stood out for me was the doctor said that I had died, and when they said that I had died for 8 to 10 minutes, I came to, and I was like, you know what? I've been praying and wishing for this, and I felt like I had a second chance, and I had to figure out something.
Like you were wrong.
Like I was wrong, and that was definitely something that I did not want at all. And then I found recovery.
Yeah.
And in an abstinence-based program. And
Okay, so how did you find it? Like, there you are in the hospital. You get sort of a surge of like, I'm glad I was revived. I'm glad.
I didn't have anybody but one person, and this one person was my mom, and she gave me one option, and it was to go to treatment. Treatment is part of my story, and I didn't want to do it at first. I didn't even want to, like, I fought it because for some reason, I thought that if I went to treatment, I was a failure.
Mm.
But the thing is I was already a failure.
Just died.
I just died. Like, it is mind-boggling the way that the
Yes.
addict brain works.
Yes.
And the thing is, I did it for my mom because she, that was the only way that I would get her back.
Yeah.
And my mom, like, she's an amazing woman.
Props to mom.
Sorry, I got a little emotional there, but yeah, like, if it wasn't for her, she kept pushing me, and like, I was like praying for a way out, and yet this whole time it was recovery. And I went to the Last Door Society, and there, when I first started to start my recovery, I didn't do it for myself. I still, at first it was difficult. I didn't have a reason to live, but with each day clean, I slowly started to gain who I was, or who I am.
Yeah.
And I found a new way to live. I found freedom from my addiction, and I remember the first time that I felt that feeling where I was like, I am free, and I don't have to wake up in the morning and wonder how I'm gonna get high today.
You remember that day, don't you?
I remember it.
What day clean was it?
It was about day 32.
Yeah.
I remember it was after my first 30-day fob, and it was the first morning that I woke up, and I was like, oh, I wish I could. I didn't think about drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty.
So proof.
Proof that.
And a proof experience of what, you hear people talking about for themselves. But that's the other thing about an addict brain, is that we're not going to necessarily believe that that's going to be for me until, like Judy was talking about, that experience that happens around us where it involves our emotions and
yeah,
like it's proof.
Like, I've learned how to work through my issues rather than just numbing them and pushing them to the side, because let me tell you, once I got clean, all those emotions that I pushed to the side they came flooding through. But I learned how to deal with those emotions, and I learned how to live a life worth living. Like, honestly, I can. The one thing though is I have so much gratitude for what I've gone through, because I had to live through that experience in order to learn that my life is worth living.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing is like, I love being an addict in recovery, because I am able to help people, and this is where I found myself, and this is where I continue to find myself, and I grow with each day.
Yeah.
And I get more and more confident in my day-to-day life, where I don't have to hate myself anymore. I love the person that I'm looking at in the mirror. I love how my family actually calls me now, wondering when they can come see me, and there's nothing else in this world that'll.
Because I'm sure there was a few years where they were like, "Do not come to the house. Do not contact us."
I broke down every relationship. Nobody wanted me around. I was on the streets. I was homeless. I was in shelters. It was
just everything but like what you're describing.
Everything but where I am today.
And that is treatment. If you think about like the show and what's going on outside, you know, as far as resources go, like people don't, I don't know, maybe politicians do know what's going on but don't care. I think personally that's the overdose crisis result, like cause. It's not fentanyl. Like here is a story of homelessness, opiate addiction to the extreme, you know, attempts at opiate replacement therapies, detoxes, shelters, all of these symptoms that comes along with it, and abstinence-based treatment, counseling, community, relationship development, involved with people that can relate, but also sort of prepare you for the rest of society.
Yeah.
In a sense, like when you come in to this downtown east side, I mean, there's homelessness, addiction, poverty, you know, untreated mental health. Like, do you, like you at one point you were one of these people?
You know, I was having a conversation with my girlfriend in the car. We were waiting, and she was like, "Well, I can relate to them, but I was never down there." And I was like, "You know what? I can completely relate to them. Like, I was that person. I literally, I like, it's amazing to me that I was there almost a year ago, just short of a year ago, and today things have completely changed, and it's things like that keep me going, because if somebody didn't help me, then I wouldn't be here today.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that I can do today is give back and help and just continue to move forward. Like I work in recovery now. I work in a treatment center at the Last Order Society. I work with youth, and I gain a lot from all of that. If there was something that I can like say, is that the abstinence way is the only way to go, because the safe injection sites, yeah, one day it's just not gonna work. Like
in the beginning these resources, the opiate replacements, the safe injection site, they were a stepping stone. They were, temporary. They were, like Suboxone, like weren't for the rest of your life. These were to help and aid in the detox and in the, getting yourself stable enough to then go out and do more work on yourself. Like now, you know what I mean? Like when do you see yourself like back on those opiate replacements? Let's say you didn't use and you just stayed like, and then eventually talk to your doctor, okay, when can I get off these? Like you would have needed then some form of therapy and recovery and something in your life at that point, or else you just would have been a guy off of opiate replacement therapy.
Yeah. But see, that's just it. It's just a replacement for another drug.
Yeah.
And
so I guess my point is, do you recommend like, sort of cold turkey, like, or can you see these resources being useful?
in my own experience, I don't feel like they're useful at all, except for helping ease getting off of it. Like maybe in the beginning it might help, but how do you move forward after still doing that? You're still when I was on opiate replacement therapy, I still was attached to my addiction, and I still felt like I was in active addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Like I lasted about 4 months on opiate replacements before I started using again, and things in my life, I felt like I was just there, like nothing was happening. I couldn't move forward.
So that being said, now that you're in that category of user and you're now an abstinent person in recovery, you now are the high percentile of risk for overdose. You're the guy, right? Because your tolerance goes down from being abstinent, and the first time you use, you're dead, right? So that's why it's guys like you, they want to see you on Suboxone for the rest of your life, so that risk is gone. You don't have to die, right? So here we are talking about like that being like you're at risk, right? So how do you feel about being abstinent and relapse?
I consistently work on myself when I am struggling. What's life without a little bit of risk? Honestly, I wouldn't trade my life right now for opiate replacement therapy. I would not change it because of the freedom that I have.
Yeah.
And things, honestly, I'm part of the 12-step fellowship. In working that program, you're consistently working on yourself and bettering yourself, and you get stronger with each day. You build positive connections so people can hold you accountable. Like honestly, the connections that I've made throughout my recovery journey, I don't want to let anybody down, man. I've built myself up to where I can hold my head up high, and I can be counted on to be there.
Yeah.
Like there's like little things that I'm able to do now. Like just last week, I borrowed my mom's car, and she's been having oil problems, and all I did was go and take her car and go get an oil change for her. I brought her car back, and my mom was like almost in tears. She was like, nobody's ever done that for me before. And like I get to do little things like that. Like that feeling is what keeps me going.
That's relapse prevention.
That's relapse prevention for me. Like that is the high that I get today.
Yeah. And that's what people, the politicians, all of these resources that are set up to to not ever allow us the ability to experience the voluntary accountability that we can have for ourselves and responsibility for our own lives in the choices that we make that can make us feel like we've gotten that second chance. And that's the biggest relapse prevention. But if you don't like fight for that type of life, then you'll never know it's there for you.
Yeah, if you
Right.
don't take the chance in getting into recovery, and then you're never gonna know what is to come. Like, if you're just gonna stay stagnant in addiction and in opiate replacement therapy and all of the other harm reduction.
So you recommend this life?
I preach it to everybody. I even preach it to non-addicts because honestly, I feel like there's nothing better than living a life like this and
Yeah.
living a life in recovery. Like I always thought that I was destined to. I was actually ready to use for the rest of my life. I thought that was my destiny.
And then sometimes when you think, okay, I'm gonna have to never leave my house ever again because it's outside, right? We talk about that. It's just outside our door, and it's like I can't go outside. But it's like when you understand the gratitude that one can feel for the change that they make in their life, and that we are all the same people. We can do it.
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in, Niko, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. Another day of goosebumps. Thank you guys so much for coming in and sharing your story.
Thank you.
It means a lot. We're going to end the show today with another song, little John Butler Trio. This is Wade in the Water. Cheers.
See you, Darren. See you guys.
Come on.